Hello everyone. A very good morning to the excellencies, respected teachers and my dear friends. This is Bhakti, web developer from CodeChef SIGST, and I'm going to give you an interesting introduction about this event. Hacktoberfest is something that you're gonna hear a lot about in this month. But after all, what is it? Next slide. Hacktoberfest in its 8th year is a month-long celebration of open source software. During the month of October, we invite you to join the open source software enthusiasts, beginners, and the developer community by contributing to open source projects. What I personally love about it is that it brings developers with the same mindset together from all over the place. In reality, Hacktoberfest is open to everyone in a global community, whether you are a developer, student learning to code, even host, or company of any size. You can help drive growth of open source and make positive contributions to an ever-growing community. All backgrounds and skill levels are encouraged to complete the challenge. Developers get involved by completing pull requests, participating in events, and donating to open source projects. But still confused exactly how to participate? Let's see in our next slide. In order to participate, you should definitely have a GitHub account. Secondly, one should navigate through the Hacktoberfest website and sign in through your GitHub credentials. Also read the rules and following instructions given. Later on, browse through various repositories and contribute to the project of your choice. Next slide. I know now you might be wondering, why should I contribute? By contributing to an open source project, you receive immediate feedback on your development and programming skills. You may get suggestions about the choice of a function name, the way you use conditional logic, or how using a Go routine you didn't know about speeds up the execution of your program. This is all a valuable feedback to receive when you're learning something new. Moreover, as you create more pull requests and apply what you learned from previous submissions, you begin to learn how to write good code and submit great pull requests for code review. Finally, many open source projects offer mentorship programs to help guide you through your first few contributions. It is very welcoming, safe environment to build your confidence as a developer. The exciting part about being involved in this fest is that no matter how small or big your contributions are, the community will welcome your efforts and collaborate with you positively, sharing feedback and expressing gratitude and an opportunity of earning limited edition swags, t-shirts, great experience and whatnot. Next slide. Let me walk you through our today's agenda. We will cover what is open source and the various open source projects by Google. Then we'll see an interesting, worth overwhelming introduction to various domain technologies. Then a gist of open source projects by technical team and CodeChef. Further, we will have an hands-on session about Git and GitHub. Finally, I'll give you a personal tip to gather your note-taking materials and make a note of all the information that interests you. Thank you. Over to you, Nipun.
Thank you so much. Hello guys. So my name is Nipun and you all must have heard of this term called open source. What exactly is open source? So you see, open source software is code that is designed to be publicly accessible, which means that anybody can see it, modify it, and distribute it as they see fit. Right. And people say that to succeed, you must share, and that is exactly what open source stands for. But why open source? Why do we say that open source is so great? The first and foremost reason is it is free to use. Right. Second, it is very reliable. You see, bugs in open source software are easily resolved because there are so many people in the community, so there are faster response rates. Thus, the open source code is very reliable. It is also flexible. which means that you have the possibility of using whatever version of the code you want to use. All right, and you can upgrade whenever you feel like it. So it fits whatever your project definition is. Fourth, it is secure. Now ask yourself this one question. Which project is bound to be more secure? One that is made by a few developers or one that is made by hundreds, if not thousands of developers? And you'll have the answer to yourself. And it is also transparent. You see, in an open source, everyone has access to all the changes made in a code. Everyone can see what all is happening in that project, which means that the code is as transparent as it can be. Let's look at some more benefits. You see, everybody can contribute very easily to an open source project. This can be done using various open source platforms like GitHub, Piper, etc. Then collective effort of the community ensures quality of the project. So you see, when there are a lot of people working on a single project, the quality is never compromised. Also, this leads to a community-based growth of the project. Open source projects have a tendency to have a nourishing community around them who are focused on the excellence of the project. And that's what open source does for all of us. I think after listening to all of this, we can summarize that when it comes to open source, you win, and we all win. Now I'll call upon my friend Mehul to talk about some of the Google open source projects.
Thank you, Nipun. So now, after understanding what open source is, let's take a look at the contribution of Google in the field of open source. Google believes that open source is good for everyone. By being open and freely available, it enables and encourages collaboration in the development of technology, solving real-world problems. Now let's see some of the programs and projects supported by Google to promote open source. Next slide. Can you guess the name of this program supported by Google to promote open source? You can put it in chat. The hint is it happens over summer. Okay, guys, come on. Yeah. I got one response. OK. Yeah, that's correct. It's GSOC. Google Summer of Code is a program designed to encourage college students' participation in open source development. The aim of the program is to help organizations continue to identify and bring in new developers each year. Also, to expose students to real-world software development scenarios and to help students build a strong network when applying for jobs. Every year, Google invites applications from various open source software projects to be a mentor organization at GSOC. After the selection of mentor organizations, interested students submit project proposals to mentor organizations in different domains. Their mentor organizations accept the proposals of eligible students and pair them with an expert mentor. That is it. Coding begins. Students start working for 12 long weeks over summer on the milestone laid out in their project proposals. GSOC is a place where you don't just get to apply your skills, but also get to acquire a bunch of new ones. And the learning is not just limited to technical knowledge. GSOC introduces you to a new paradigm about building code collaboratively. Not only that, GSOC is a platform that lets you build on your current skills and hone them. There is a project for all skill levels at GSOC. So if you enjoy coding and feel passionate about writing good quality code and building great software, GSOC is the place for you to give way to your passion. After all, what better way is there to celebrate your love for the code by participating in Summer of Code? Next slide. So now let's see some of the projects supported by Google to promote open source. Can you guess the name of this one? Come on, it's easy. You can put it in chat. Okay, I got one response. Yeah, that's correct. Flutter. Next slide. Flutter is a Google UI's toolkit for building beautiful natively compiled applications for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. I mean that you can use one programming language and one code base to create two different apps for iOS and for Android. Next slide. To develop with Flutter, you will use a programming language called Dart. This language was created by Google in October 2011. This language focuses on front-end development and you can use it to create mobile and web applications. Flutter, being an open source platform, it enables the developers to build highly interactive and effective hybrid apps. These apps run consistently well on both the mobile OS platforms as they are made of a single code base. Moreover, in this dynamic world of mobile app development, opting for hybrid app development has become an absolute necessity. Thus, Flutter app development with its immaculate features has become the eye candy of the tech realm. Now to explain the next project, I'll hand over to Khush.
Yeah. So can you guess the name of this project? It has been used to develop various other browsers and lead to the development of other browsers. Yeah. So I got one response. You can write it in the chat also. Yeah. So thank you for the answer. The answer is Chromium browser. Next slide. So Chromium browser is an open source browser project. It is aimed to build a safer, faster, and more stable way for all users to experience the web. It generates the source code used by Chrome, Edge, and other browsers. It is maintained by Google. It is one of the primary backers and a contributor to Chromium. It kicked off this project when it launched Chrome in September 2008. Because the code is open source, other people like which are not employed by Google, like Microsoft people, they have given their serious input and contribution to Chromium. The feature of this project is that it has a very powerful developer console that allows JavaScript and CSS debugging, code formatting out of the box with the support for source maps when viewing the minified, minified code. So having a powerful developer console will have access to Chromium extension that can have access to the Chromium web browser, and almost all extensions can be posted and used on the Chromium. That will allow it to understand that how the browser is going to work for the particular website. Okay. Popularity, and it is according to the stats counter, Chromium derived browser holds 70% of 70.6% of the market share, highest being Chrome, then followed by Edge and Opera. So uh, these are the several Chromium derived browsers. First is Chrome, that is made by Google. It is used for user customization. Vivaldi is also similar to Chrome, but it is a very serious rival in terms of features and user customizability. Brave and Epic are the next two browsers. Both are privacy-oriented browsers. Uh, Epic is one of the most privacy-oriented hardened browsers, so it blocks around 600 tracking requests. The next two are Polypane and Blisk. Both are developer-oriented browsers. Blisk Polypane is a Chromium-based browser with an Electron app, and Blisk is a developer-oriented browser. So I will hand over to Rohit now.
Thank you, Khush. Care to guess which Google product this one is? You can put it in the chat. Okay. Yes, this is Angular. Yeah, correct. Next slide. Angular is the recent and the most modern open source application framework maintained by Google. When coming across web frameworks, we must have always heard of AngularJS. But we are not talking about AngularJS. We are talking about Angular. So Angular is a dynamic loading, strongly typed language which recommends writing in TypeScript, which is opposing to the traditional JavaScript. The reason why Angular is being a popular choice among everyone is because of its code reusability, declarative UI, and multiple other features like its high performance, error handling, and cleaner code. Because of this, the Angular community has been able to grow enormously all across the world. It has seen a 50% growth in its community, and today almost 30% of the software engineers use it. In the term mean stack, which is mean stack development, we have always M stands for MongoDB, which is the database, E is the Express, and A, Angular, which we are talking about, is the front-end framework which is used in this stack of development. And Node.js, which is the runtime environment for the mean stack development. Next slide. Angular has three sub-proportions. The Angular team at Google is working at three different parts of this. Angular IO, which is also referred to as Angular, AngularJS, and Angular Dart. Angular IO is written in TypeScript, AngularJS is written in JavaScript, and Angular Dart, as it suggests, is written in Dart. Angular IO is used for both mobile and web applications. AngularJS and Angular Dart are exclusively for web development. Now let's see why Angular IO is much better. Now AngularJS has a huge community, but unfortunately the support ends soon. But this very same community extends to Angular also, as Angular is somewhat of a 2.0 version of AngularJS. The community has lots of resources and lots of third-party components, which is making it easy to integrate with a lot of things. Angular Dart, although has a smaller community, but is a pet project of Google, which is helping you to create a web application along with a Flutter application. So you will have you'll be able to share code easily and it's transferable. Angular is being popular and is used by famous brands such as Netflix, IBM, as well as Samsung. So thank you from my end. Now I'll hand it over to Nishit.
Okay, thank you, Rohit. So I would like each one of you to guess which open source software's logo is this. Please write it down in the chat section. Okay. Okay. Right. So the name of this open source software is TensorFlow. So what is TensorFlow? So TensorFlow is an end-to-end open source platform for machine learning. It has a comprehensive, flexible ecosystem of tools, libraries, and community resources that lets researchers push the state of the art in ML, that is machine learning, and gives developers the ability to easily build and deploy ML-powered applications. Advantages of using TensorFlow. TensorFlow provides a collection of workflows for both beginners and experts to create ML models in numerous languages. How Google uses it? TensorFlow is used in many Google products such as Gmail, Translate, Photos, Speech, YouTube, and Play. Next slide. Okay, so Magenta. So the name sounds cool, right? So Magenta is a project used for music and art generation. It is a research project started by some researchers and engineers from the Google Brain team. They use TensorFlow and release their models and tools in open source on GitHub. So to the right, you can see NSynth. NSynth is based upon previous research in the field. Magenta created NSynth. So NSynth is basically neural synthesizer. Okay, so it is a N synthesizer, which is a machine learning algorithm that uses deep neural network to learn the characteristics of sound and then create a completely new sound, which will help in making amazing music and in turn help the music industry. Okay, so now I hand over the stage to Purnami to take the session forward.
Hello everyone, I am Purnami and on behalf of the technical team of SIS GST, I am here to guide you in your journey through various open source technologies in 4 spectacular domains, namely app dev, web dev, robotics and game dev. Exactly 2 years back, when I was beginning my journey in tech, even I had a lot of questions in mind regarding open source. And till date, I feel I don't have enough knowledge about the open source technologies in these domains. So today, Let's see if our very own tech team can answer them and make our lives a little better in tech. So my first question goes to the app domain. What kind of open source project is Android and why one must choose Android?
Okay, next slide. Okay, so answering your question, Purnami, Android is an open source operating system based on Linux with the Java programming interface for mobile devices. It was developed by Open Handset Alliance, which is now led by Google. Now, answering your second half of question, which is why Android? Now, Android operating system is the largest installed base among various mobile platforms. Hundreds of millions of mobile devices are powered by Android. It conquered around 75% of the global market share by the end of 2020. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. But can you give us some examples of some existing open source projects?
Next slide. Okay, now the some of the existing open source projects, among which the first one is Custom ROM. Now, a custom ROM is essentially a firmware based on the Android source code provided by Google. Now, it is one of the reasons why Android operating system it varies from Google's Pixel devices to Samsung's One UI devices. The next one is which is Pixel ROM, which is named as Pixel Experience, is also a type of a custom ROM that aims towards providing pixel-like stock Android experience. The third one is Havoc OS, which is also a highly customizable custom ROM available for Android phones. And the last one is Lineage Operating System, which is an operating system for smartphones, tablets, computers, and set-top boxes. Next slide. Okay, now if you have tried Android Studio for making applications, you might know Retrofit and other some Android UI UX libraries for which we add dependencies in Gradle build file. Now Retrofit, it is used to fetch data from API and UI UX libraries like that of Jetpack Compose, ViewPager, Graphs, and like different widgets available. Now even these are open source projects available on GitHub and you can contribute over there as well. I believe that I have cleared your doubt, Purnami.
Yes, but I have just one last question. What are the benefits of contributing to Android and how can one contribute?
Yeah. Next slide. Okay, now this is really an interesting question and a really good question. Now, what are the benefits of open source in Android? The first is source code is readily available for people to download and change more and more variants of OS adapted to different hardware platforms. Unlike iOS, where source code is not available, thus inhibiting its adaptability. So, like you can see in this picture, that if there is any feature in Android that you don't like, if you are a developer, you can change it. But in iOS, if you don't like anything, it just seems that you have to change your attitude. So now the second one is the active developer communities, which helps contributors to resolve their doubts, issues, and queries in no time, thus enhancing progress of Android. And the last one is it is flexible since it allows you to use third-party tools for app development, which gives opportunity to make use of many features. Next slide. Yeah. Now the really important question, which is how can you contribute? Now the first is report bugs. One of the easiest and most effective ways you can help improve Android is to file bugs. The second one is develop apps. Android was created so that all developers can distribute their apps to users on an open platform. One of the best ways you can help Android is to write cool apps that users love. And the last one is to contribute to the code. Code is the king. Developers at Android would love to review any changes that you submit. So check out the source, pick a bug or feature, and get coding.
Well, thank you so much for answering all my questions. Now that we have covered the app domain, let's move on to the web domain. So what is the MERN stack?
Okay, so answering your question, MERN-Stack is a complete open source combination of all JavaScript related technologies, that is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. MERN-Stack is used to build universal React app. Here, React is responsible for front-end of web application. Express is the backend framework for Node.js. Node.js is backend JavaScript runtime environment, and MongoDB is database. Next slide.
So what is React and why use it over other technologies?
React is an open source library developed by Facebook and is currently maintained with the open source community. It is a JavaScript library for building fast and interactive user interfaces. React applications have component-based architecture. Now you may think, what is a component? A component is a piece of user interface. So when building applications with React, we build a bunch of independent, isolated, and reusable components and then compose them to build complex user interfaces. Every React application has at least one component, which we refer to as root component. Now, what are the benefits of React being an open source? When creating a framework, a lot of bugs will be produced. When making a library open source, suddenly the amount of testers increases significantly. Next slide. Now let's see what Node.js is. Node.js is an open source server-side runtime environment. Node.js can be used to build different types of applications such as command line application, web application, real-time chat application, REST API server, etc. However, it is mainly used to build network programs like web servers. Let's talk about advantages of Node.js. It uses JavaScript to build entire server-side application. It is a lightweight framework that includes bare minimum modules. Other modules can be included as per the need of application. It has faster performance than any other frameworks. Next slide.
So what's so special about MongoDB in MERN-Stack?
Okay, so before answering your question, I would like to first make you understand what MongoDB is. MongoDB is an open source document-oriented NoSQL database. It stores data in JSON-like documents. MongoDB works extremely well with Node.js and makes storing, manipulating, and representing JSON data at every level of your application super easy. The JSON data flows naturally from front end to back end, making it fast to build on and simple to debug. Plus, you only need to know one programming language, that is JavaScript, and the JSON document structure to understand the whole system. I hope I answered all your questions, Purnami.
Yes. And now that we have a clear idea about the MERN-Stack, let's see if robotics domain can answer our questions. So my first question is, what kind of open source is related to robotics?
Now, before we understand what open source projects are related in robotics, let's understand what a robot is or what robotics is. Robotics is a field which deals with design, construction, use of control, sensory feedback, and information processing. These are some technologies which will replace humans and human activities in upcoming years. Robots are designed to be used for any purpose, but these are using in sensitive environments. Now, a robot consists of three main components: sensor, brain, and actuators. Next slide. Now, answering to the question, open source in robotics can be divided into two categories. One is hardware and the other is software. Now, the brain component which we were talking about is the hardware. Arduino and Raspberry Pi majorly used brains, and ROS and Gazebo as 3D simulators. Over to you, Vaishnavi.
Next slide, please. Okay, now let us look at Arduino first. Arduino is an open source electronics platform based on easy to use hardware and software. Arduino boards are able to read inputs such as light on a sensor, a button press, or even a Twitter message and turn it into an output such as activating a motor, turning on an LED, or even publishing something online. You can tell your board what to do by sending a set of instructions to the microcontroller on the board. To do so, you can use the Arduino programming language and the Arduino IDE. Now, let us look at Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is also known as RPi. It is the name of a series of single board computers made by the Raspberry Pi Foundation. RPi provides a set of GPIO, which stands for General Purpose Input-Output Pins, allowing you to control electronic components for physical computing. It is capable of doing everything you would expect a desktop computer to do, from browsing the internet and playing high-definition video to making spreadsheets, word processing, and playing games.
But how exactly is Arduino different from RPi, or majorly known as Raspberry Pi?
Answering to that question, next slide. We all want our system to be optimized. मैं भी चाहता हूँ मेरा system सस्ता हो, but अच्छा भी हो. That is, our product should be viable enough to perform a task. Let's understand these differences between Arduino and RPi to answer that question. Now, Arduino is based on microcontroller, whereas Raspberry Pi is based on microprocessor. The CPU architecture of an Arduino is just 8-bit, whereas CPU architecture of a Raspberry Pi is 64-bit. Arduino uses less RAM, that is less than 2 KB, whereas Raspberry Pi requires more RAM, more than 1 GB. Thus, Arduino is cheaper, Raspberry Pi is expensive. Hope I answered your question, Purnami. Next slide. Now let's talk about the software of robotics. Gazebo and ROS majorly use simulators. Over to you, Vaishnavi.
Okay, so now let's look at Gazebo first. Gazebo is an open source 3D robotics simulator. Gazebo can use multiple high-performance physics engines such as URI, Bullet, etc. It provides realistic rendering of environments, including high-quality lighting, shadows, and textures. It can model sensors that see the simulated environment, such as laser range finders, cameras, etc. Now let us look at ROS. ROS stands for Robot Operating System. It is an open source robotics middleware suite. ROS is a collection of software frameworks for robot software development. It provides services designed for a heterogeneous computer cluster, such as hardware abstraction, low-level device control, implementation of commonly used functionality, message passing between processes, and package management. Next slide. Okay, now let's take a look at the simulations which can be done using these softwares. So on the left, you can see a mascot, and on the right, you can see an auto balancer. Next slide. Okay, so this is an object dodging bot. So you can see this bot is trying to dodge the can. Do you have any other questions, Purnami?
Yes, those were some really cool simulations, by the way. So I have one last question. How can we contribute to open source related to robotics?
Okay, before I tell you how can you contribute, let me tell you what is the importance. Because of open source, developers need not start from scratch and can focus on their editions. This is beneficial for the whole community. Now, coming to how can you contribute. You can introduce your ideas and changes in the projects which are already existing, like IoT-based agriculture solution, smart home, and or even weather stations using the tools which we mentioned. Hope it answers all your queries.
Yes, thank you so much for answering all my questions. Now, let's move ahead to the game domain. So what kind of open source is used in game development?
So first of all, let me tell you that there are various types of games. For example, there are FPS games like CSGO and Dota, CSGO and Valorant. There are MOBA games like League of Legends and Dota. Now, coming to your question, there are three major softwares when it comes to making games, which are Unity, Blender, and Audacity. Now, is there anything else on your mind, Purnami?
Yeah, can you explain the specifications of the three OS mentioned?
Of course. So first, let's start with Unity. Next slide, please. Yes. Unity is a cross-platform game engine developed by Unity Technologies, first announced and released in June 2005 at Apple Incorporation. The engine can be used to create three-dimensional and two-dimensional games, as well as interactive simulations and other experiences. Unity gives the ability to create games and experiences in both 2D and 3D, and the engine offers a primary scripting API in C# for the both Unity plugins and in the form of games themselves, as well as the drag and drop functionality. Prior to C# being the primary programming language used for the engine, it previously supported Boo, which was stopped with the release of Unity 5. Next slide, please. Yes. So here are some popular games made by Unity, which includes Angry Birds, Rust, Hitman, and Among Us. I'm sure you guys must have played Rust and Among Us during the lockdown days. They were super popular. Next slide, please. Now, here's a little fun fact for you Office fans. Dwight Schrute's favorite game, Battlestar Galactica, is also made by Unity. Now, that's it from my part. Over to you, Ashwin.
Yeah. Now next slide. Now another open source that we use to make our game attractive is Blender. It's an open source which helps in 3D modeling, animations, and video editing. As I mentioned earlier, it is used for making 3D modeling. So in a game, we use this open source to build an attractive map and also the characters depending upon the genre. Next slide. Yeah, these are some of the models which are made with the help of Blenders. As you can see, it's so attractive and beautiful. Next slide, please. Now moving on to the next open source, which made the game developers' work easy, is Audacity, which is free, easy to use, multitasking audio editors and recorders for Windows, Mac OS, and other operating systems. It can easily create an audio of our choice, which saves the time of searching the audios online. So I hope that I answered all of your questions, Purnami.
Yes. Now that all of our questions have been answered by the tech team, I think I'll get some prep start for Hacktoberfest. So happy hacking to all. Okay, so is my screen visible? Can someone please confirm?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, let's proceed towards the open source projects at CodeChef SIS GST. But before that, let me just give you a brief about our chapter CodeChef SIS GST. At CodeChef, we conduct various workshops and seminars to give you hands-on experience in problem solving and teach you the ins and outs of competitive programming. We also conduct various programming contests in which you can participate to test your skills and knowledge of data structures and algorithms. Now, let's take a look at what kind of open source projects do we have at SIS GST Arena. So this is the open source website of our chapter. The link to this website will be shared in the chat box with you. Here we have listed all the projects that you can contribute to, and you can visit this page anytime and check out these projects. So for now, let's start with the UUID API key. So this is basically a base32 Crockford encoded API key generator, validator, and converter to turn UUIDs into human readable API keys for Golang. So if you see here, the language that we have used is Go. So has any one of you heard about Golang? You can unmute and say yes or no. No, okay. So Golang is one of the youngest programming languages which is used for building web applications. It was actually designed by the Google engineers and is often used there for internal projects. Everyone here must definitely be knowing about Google Chrome and Google Earth, right? So these were actually created using Golang, and they are there are several other top companies such as Uber, Twitch and Dropbox which use this language. And if someone wants to dive into open source programming, then you can definitely consider Go as a starter language and start learning about it. So now let's take a look at Heroku Buildpack Mongo. So you must be wondering, what are exactly build packs, right? So build packs are composed of a set of scripts, and depending on the programming language, the scripts will retrieve dependencies, the output generated assets or compile code and more. Now Heroku already has a set of officially supported build packs that are available by default to all the Heroku apps. So these are some of the build packs. So here we have Ruby, Node.js, Clojure, Python, Java, etc. Similarly, ours is a Heroku build pack for running Mongo commands. So, and if you see over here, the project is written in shell script. So if any one of you has any experience with shell script, you can definitely contribute to this project and check it out. Now let's move to the next project, that is Epicenter. So Epicenter is a cloud monitoring and deployment tool which is built using TypeScript. So similarly, we have Epicenter for Android as well. And if you can see, this is the architecture that we've used. There's Firebase, MongoDB, Heroku, Epicenter. Over here, if you visit in the code, here you'll be able to see the description of the project, and you'll be able to access the project folder. Now let's come to our highlight project, that is Arena 2.0. So Arena 2.0 is the second version of SIS GST Arena website. So before proceeding towards Arena 2.0, let us first check out this current website that we have. So this is how the website looks like. So this is the platform where we hold all the programming contests for you guys. Now, this is how it looks. Now let's take a look at what Arena 2.0 looks like. So this is Arena 2.0. So in this version, we are completely redesigning the UI using React. The stack that we are using over here is Mon, and this website, if you see, is currently under development. So any kinds of contributions are encouraged from you guys. And to be honest, this is a really good opportunity for you guys. Like if any of you are starting with web dev and want to skill up in the Mon stack, then you can definitely check out the project structure over here. In the description, we have the description about the project. We have the project structure, and you can definitely, before contributing to any project, always make it mandatory to read the contributing guidelines. So, and you can check out the issues page later on. Here we'll be posting several issues regarding the website that you can contribute to. If you find a website that, if you find an issue that you find familiar to and you want to actually work on it, you can just fork the project over here, start working on that project, on that feature, and make a pull request. So once your you can make a pull request over here, and once your pull request has been successfully merged, you'll notice that your name will be displayed over here in the contributors list. So these contributions will someday actually benefit you guys, maybe during your interviews and all, as they will strongly portray that you are skilled at what you do. Okay, so those were all the projects, and the links to the documentation of each and every project is mentioned over here. There's link to the issues page as well, and to the page where you can fork the projects. And if you want to take a look at all the open source projects at Arena, so you can definitely click on view all. And this is the page where you can check out all the projects. And finally, yeah, so this is the GitHub profile. You can access all the projects over here. So thus we come to end of this session. Now we'll be having a short break, and hands-on will start at 12:30. The links will be mailed to you guys. And if you guys have any queries, you just have to contact to the group admins. So thank you so much.